Hello and welcome to the video tutorial on the video functions of the Canon T2i camera. Today I'll be showing you how to set up the camera for manual mode as well as automatic mode. First we want to reset the camera back to factory defaults. To do so, turn the mode dial to the manual mode. Once in manual mode, hit the menu key and then arrow over to the third camera settings button. It's the second to the last menu item on the menu screen. It's a wrench with 3 dots next to it. Once you get there, scroll down to Clear Settings. Click the Set button, and then you want to clear all camera settings. Clear all camera settings, hit OK. This will ensure that the camera is set back to factory defaults. Once you've reset the camera back to factory defaults, you can start shooting video right away in a fully automatic mode. To do so, turn the dial over to the video mode. To start recording, you can hit the Live View button on the back of the camera, which has a little red dot next to it. That stands for record. Next, we're going to talk about how to set the camera up into a manual mode. Manual mode gives you more creativity over your image. For example, if you're shooting an interview where your lighting conditions may change in the background, it's probably in your best interest to be in manual mode. This way, the camera will always be set to the settings that you decide what you want the image to look like. We're going to talk about manual exposure, manual shutter speed, manual ISO, and manual white balance. First, let's put the camera in a fully manual exposure mode. And to do so, click the menu button. You can find movie exposure under the second menu. It's the menu with the camera with 2 dots next to it. Right now it's set to auto. Click the set button and scroll down to manual and hit set. Now your camera is fully manual. Now we can change the f-stop on the lens as well as the shutter speed. To change the f-stop on the lens, you'll need to use 2 fingers. Your thumb should probably hit the AV plus minus button on the back of the camera, and your forefinger can use the jog wheel on the top of the camera. Pushing the AV plus or minus button as well as jogging the jog wheel will allow you to change the f-stop up or down. Remember, the lower the number, the more light the lens lets in. The higher the number, the less light the lens lets in. To change the shutter speed, simply jog the jog wheel left or right. There's no need to hit the AV plus minus button. My suggestion is to keep the shutter speed at 60 because this is going to be good for most situations. But again, feel free to experiment. The next manual function we'll talk about is ISO or ISO. ISO artificially enhances the amount of light that hits the sensor. The trade-off is that as the ISO goes up, the more noise or digital grain is introduced to the image. As you see in this example, ISO 100, 400, and 1600. A general rule of thumb is to keep the ISO as low as possible. ISO is not a replacement for good lighting. Why would you want to use ISO? In my opinion, it's always better to get a shot than no shot at all. Sometimes you may be in a situation where it's just impossible to add more light. So in that case, go ahead, introduce more ISO or more grain to the picture. To change the ISO, simply push the ISO button on top of the camera, and now you can change the ISO by hitting the left or right arrow button on the directional pad. Right increases, left decreases.